And to discuss Erdogan's current tour of Africa, I'm joined by former Turkish ambassador to Mauritania, Musa Kulaklikaya, who is currently the Director General at Sesric, which is part of the OIC, and by Jonathan Offei-Ansah, who is the founder and publisher of Africa Briefing news magazine based in London. Let's begin with you, John. When we talk about Africa, especially in the Western press, there is this tendency to lump Africa, the continent, and all its dozens of countries as one. But there are many divides, aren't there? It's quite a different environment, north, south, east, west. Western Africa is different. Northern Africa, which is Arab influence, is different. Tell us about this othering of sorts of Africa.
Yeah, it's the misinformation and the misconception, especially the Western media have about Africa. Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent, of 55 countries. And like you mentioned, we have the North Africa with the Arab influence. We have West Africa, where I come from. We have the East.
You're from Ghana?
Yes, in Ghana, yeah. We have the East, we have the Central, and we have the South.
There is also a dark chapter on the continent of Western colonialism, where a lot of resources were taken out, slave trade, which fueled economies in the US and the Americas and so on and so forth. But now we see a different sort of engagement take place with Turkey's President Erdogan, having visited 24 countries before this present tour, 4 countries now. Ambassador, I'll ask you, why is Turkey so interested in engaging with Africa, and what kind of engagement are we looking at?
In the period of ruling party, AK Party, since Turkish foreign diplomacy diversified and spread to all over the world region, including Africa, Turkey has given great importance to Africa especially. We have several reasons. First, Turkey has not any colonial background in relationship with Africa. Second reason, Turkey has very different foreign diplomacy. We can say moral diplomacy. We can say humanitarian diplomacy. We can say win-win diplomacy. Turkey, as an emerging economy, has to seek new partner countries to deal businessmen of Turkey, to deal contractors. Turkey's construction sector is the second in the world after China as a value.
It's interesting you mentioned China, you mentioned Turkey. Tell us about this colonial legacy, and how is Turkish Chinese engagement, as the ambassador was mentioning, different?
Like Ambassador said, look, Turkey has no colonial legacy in Africa. Again, it's an emerging economy. China, on the other hand, also has no colonial legacy in Africa, but it has suffered from colonialism. So it has that kind of empathy. China has that kind of empathy with Africa. And again, they are looking for markets. Turkey is looking for markets. China is looking for markets. Okay, Africa has abundance of raw materials. Okay, hydrocarbons, oil, agricultural raw materials, minerals, you name it, right? And when any economy such as yours or China's, right, is developing, is booming, they need source of raw materials, right? And again, they need markets, to sell, export their manufactured products to. So again, like Ambassador said, it becomes a win-win situation. Turkey and China are going to Africa as friends. They are not going to Africa like past masters. So that's the difference between Turkey-Africa's engagement and maybe China-Africa's engagement, as opposed to engagement with, say, Britain, France, or maybe Germany.
So trade is one aspect of this engagement that Turkey Basically, trade between African countries and Turkey hit $17 billion in 2017. But another aspect is terrorism, is fighting terrorism in places like Mauritania, Mali, but also FETÖ-run schools. Now, FETÖ, Turkey says, is one of the biggest terrorism threats that the country, Turkey, is facing. How is this playing out in Africa, and what is Turkey doing, Ambassador?
Regarding FETÖ presence in all the world, especially in Africa, was very strong. But in some African countries, after coup attempt in Turkey in 2016, 15th of July, after good relationship, after good connection with African countries' authorities, started to kick off all FETÖ schools. Some countries immediately closed and give back to Turkish foundation, which called Ma'arif Foundation. Some countries closed and took over itself and started to run itself.
Well, just to inform our viewers, Turkey took control of 76 schools in 10 African countries. The Ma'arif Foundation, as you were mentioning, but yeah, continue,
including Mauritania, Senegal, Gambia, I remember, and Sudan, immediately responded to Turkish request. And then Ma'arif Foundation took over to manage these schools. But FETÖ presence, not only in education sector, but also in humanitarian relationship was very strong. There was very strong competition with Turkish governmental institutions and FETÖ-based, FETÖ-supported NGOs. So now, all parties started to walk together in a right way, in cooperation, in development, and other kind of relationship.
Terrorism, finance, trade, but also departing from a colonial legacy. Where do you see this relationship going, John?
This relationship is going, it's on an upward trajectory. Okay, look, Turkey has established the biggest military base outside of Turkey in Somalia. It is built, I think, one of the biggest hospitals in East Africa in Somalia. Okay, and there's this AMISOM, the OAU, the African Union force fighting Al-Shabaab jihadists in Somalia. Now, the Al-Shabaab, see that AMISOM as Christian, so it becomes like something Christian versus Muslim. Now, AMISOM is being phased out, and Turkey is training troops, right, in Somalia. So it will be like Muslim. I mean, good Muslims fighting, bad Muslims. It's the war. So that is the kind of engagement, part of the engagement Turkey, is undertaking in Africa now.
Ambassador John, thank you so much.
You're welcome.